Okay, folks, so as always, there's a little disclaimer. I'm just making this video for myself as a reminder for later, so it's not meant to be a pro tutorial. So I'm starting over here in Blender. What I want to do is I want to have, I've got this object here, and I want to be able to have a outline. You can do that in Blender with a wireframe, not with a wireframe, with freestyle lines, but what I've noticed is when using complex shapes, and this is like a collection, it just doesn't really work. It's messy. So I'm doing it in another way. What I'm doing is I am exporting it with no light in the scene, and this has got no emission textures, so it's not emitting light, so there's actually nothing to be seen in the scene. And then I'm also in the scene doing transparent over here. So yeah, right. So the end result that I get is, actually pretty much see this because it won't show because of OBS, but this is basically what you see here is what is getting rendered. Okay, let's jump over to DaVinci Fusion. So what I'm bringing in here is this. Okay, I'm then making it white. Not sure if that's really so important, but that's what I'm doing. And then I'm running into an EdgeBlur node, which is a custom node which comes out of the Reactor part of Fusion. So you have to install Reactor and then search for EdgeBlur, and you'll be able to install this one. So it's giving me this. This is not really what it's designed for. It's designed to blur an edge, but I'm using it to create this mask of the edge. Let's have a look at the settings. These are the settings up here that I'm using. Of course, it will depend on what your result you're trying to get. What I'm also doing is I am, before the very first thing they're actually doing is a blur node. So if I turn this blur off, now you're probably going to not see this in the video. Yeah. Well, what I can see is like the line is broken here, and if I run it, it flickers because it's just like, yeah, it just flickers. So by putting a blur on, I'm stopping that flickering. Okay. It then goes into a background. So I create a color. I've got my color set over here, and then I'm applying a glow to it here, and then eventually it's getting composited over the original render. So this is the original result. So yeah, you have to mess around with it because sometimes you get like flickering. And like I said, I think it's because of this thing here, or rather, if I go here, when I turn the blur off, you're getting these jagged lines which flicker. You can tweak it in the EdgeBlur. Maybe that's the way to do it as well. But for me, it seemed to work best by just blurring it before and then using this one. Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's the end of this tutorial.